Right, welcome to this complete army video for the Thousand Sons. I have made one of these recently, but since then, the new codex has come along. There's been some big points changes as well for the Thousand Sons. So new list, some units have been dropped, some new units being added in. So in this video, will be a full army breakdown for you. I'll give you the points, values, and the list in the video description below. We'll talk about the models themselves, so we'll do a bit of a showcase. And talk about those, the build of the army, the structure, tactics, individual unit choices, enhancements, detachments, all covered here in this video. You're welcome to copy this list if you wish. You can take elements from it, or feel free to copy the entire thing. It is 2,000 points of Thousand Sons using the brand new codex for 10th edition and the latest points values. So for discount 40k, the new codex and cards are fantastically produced by Games Workshop. You can get them discounted from gamingfigures.com, link for them in the video description below. And then also the backdrop that we're using for this video is the battle mat here from gamemat.eu, and also their industrial terrain set, which is these buildings you can see here just at the sides and back of the video there. So do check them out for battle mats, all shapes and sizes, pre-painted terrain available from them as well. Leave a link for gamemat.eu in the video description below. There's also a discount code for them, 11% off across the entire store, and they are shipping worldwide. And then for painting commissions, it's Art W Studio. Get in touch with them. Perhaps you don't have the time to paint up your own army. They're a painting commission company, and they can paint up your army for you. So do check out their website. Link for Art W Studio in the video description below. So some changes for sure. I've had to drop some units because they're just no longer available in the brand new codex. There's been some significant points drops for the Thousand Sons, which is great news. So I've been able to expand the force here and bring in a brand new bigger unit as well. So I'll do a couple of models. I won't go through all of them, but just a few, just to give you a bit of a showcase here. So one of my favourite kits of 40k, the Exalted Sorcerer's box set from Games Workshop. You get so many options, different staffs, heads, poses, accessories, and so on. I think you can build 3 Exalted Sorcerers or Sorcerers from the one box, including one like on a floating disc. There's another one there. Just the poses are excellent. Really happy with them. So there's 2 of them. And I'll show you Rubric Marines here, because on the channel is a full painting tutorial for these. They take time, but there is a process that will save you time. I'll show that to you in the video. Just guide you through. Actually base colour spray these gold, and it just gives you a massive head start. It's like spray it gold and then fill in the gaps with the turquoisey blue, and that just gives you a real head start for sure. So do check out that one. As Tzangors, which I'm a massive fan of, and they really feature heavily in the Space Marine 2 computer game as well. And there is a full tutorial for these on the channel as well. These are tedious, they do take a while to paint. There's a full tutorial for them. And finally, Maulerfiends, really just taking the colour scheme and then taking it up to the next level, going for a larger vehicle. And there is, again, a full tutorial for these as well. So some pretty comprehensive painting tutorials available for you for the Thousand Sons here on the channel. Just had some spare bits from a Firstborn Blood Angels Dreadnought kit. I thought the Maulerfiend looked good, having smashed it to pieces and just pushing forwards. A bit of base work, put him on some rocks, just lifted him up, just to create a different pose, because I have 3 of them, so I wanted them all to look a bit different. And I got to show you these. So this is, we'll talk about this model when we come to the list. This is the old Warhammer the Old World plastic Necro Sphinx. It's for the Tomb Kings range. I tracked it down a number of years ago out of production. I'm not sure if it's coming back in plastic for the Old World. It may be available, it may not be available, it may never be available, or it may make a return. I'm not sure, but it's called the Necro Sphinx. You can probably still track them down, but they're quite rare now to get original ones of those. And then the model that I said I'd never paint because I didn't like it, and now I actually think it's a really good model. It's Magnus the Red. Just there. It wasn't too bad. It didn't take too long. Yeah, it did take a while, but it's just a one-off. And I'll spin him around here. Show you the work on the wings. There's a big blue Thunderfire chicken or pigeon but he is really good. The Thousand Suns, without him, it was a very flat army. It was okay, but now you've got a real focal point. The eye's drawn to and just towers above everything else. It's just very, very cool. And the army's still, I think, still pretty good footprint to this, even though Magnus the Red takes up nearly a quarter of the points for the army. I still think there's plenty of units, which is great. So the army is up for discussion. If you disagree or agree with units that I've chosen and so on, leave your suggestions in the comment section below. If you've got experience as a Thousand Suns player, what units would you add in? What units would you take away? Feel free to adjust the list and so on. I'd be very interested to hear the comments from Thousand Suns players, and it'll be a help to me because I'll read the comments, and also to any aspiring or other Thousand Suns players need a bit of help and so on. So I've gone for the Grand Coven detachment. It's the kind of parent one for taking Magnus the Red. I'll dabble with the others, no doubt, but this one here, it's not going to go through all the rules for this one, but you've got Kindred Sorcery. Switching your command phase, you pick one of the options. There's 3 of them. Go +1 to the wound rolls for psychic attacks, which is going to help. It will help like Magnus the Red, for example, with his psychic attacks. Or you can go for Wrath of the Immaterial, which will turn all of the psychic attacks into devastating wounds. It's going to help him. Any of the psychic weapons here, like the psychic staves that are being carried by a good number of the models. I've actually got 6 of them in the list: 2 in the Terminators, 2 in the Rubrics, and 2 in the Exalted. They'll all turn into devastating wounds. All that's quite good. And so the Grand Coven, and then within that, some of my favourite stratagems from the index cards. Devastating Sorcery, which is a Thousand Suns Psyker. It's getting ready to shoot. Magnus has a lot of really good shooting. You get to, for 2 CP, extend the range of your psychic attack by 9. So he'll go from 24 to 33. And then on top of that, you'll get to reroll the hit roll and reroll the wound roll. That's huge, especially if you're fishing for devastating wounds, if you've activated that for the turn. So it's massive enhancement for him. There's others as well. There's Destined by Fate's quite good. You turn the damage of the attack to 0 when that comes through against the Thousand Suns Psyker. So again, that can be really handy for Magnus the Red. I do like things revolving a bit around him. He's quite an anchor point for the army. So that's the detachment. Tactics for the Thousand Suns. It's like all is dust. This kind of steady advance from them. They're not going to dart around the board like other factions like the Eldar, and they're not going to coordinate some extravagant deep strike like Tau. This is an army that's going to be on the ground mostly, and that's steady advance. So things like Rubric Marines, Tzangors following up. But as mentioned already, Magnus is going to be pivotal. He's like the hinge of the army. And I've said it before, if he survives through to the end of the game, usually the Thousand Suns are doing really well and going on for the win. If he's still alive, he's that powerful. If he dies early on, Thousand Suns are in trouble. So it's that kind of army that's going to revolve around him. He's very pivotal. Excellent, devastating firepower can come from him. Tough to kill. And so he's the focal point here for this list, and he's supported by all these other units in different ways. So that's kind of the theme for the army. And then also you must take in mind what's required to win games of 10th edition. It's a good defense of your home objective, but perhaps even more important than that is the ability to move out, take and hold the no man's land objectives. So multiple units that can move out quick enough, capture objectives, clear objectives, survive and sit on objectives throughout the game, just to rake those points in, both with primaries and with secondaries. So you're going to see some units here that can assault objectives and sit on them, and the army's going to focus on that as its primary task. So the ability to spread out with nice strong units, take and hold no man's land. So I think the whole army will be involved with that, but approach it in different ways. So first up, we'll go to Magnus the Red. We'll start with a hinge. So I want him to play a central role. Usually he'll be deployed quite centrally in the army. I'll try and obscure and hide him as much as possible. He is hard to kill. If he's exposed, if I try and run him straight at the opponent and they can turn enough guns on him, he will be brought down. If he gets caught out in combat by something like a really good unit, he'll be brought down as well. He's not invincible, but you can try and cut down the opportunities the opponent has to try and damage and wound him. So obscuring terrain, choosing carefully where to put him. He can, I get his card out, he can maneuver very, very quickly. He can fly, and he's got a 14-inch move. He's very, very swift for the size that he is. And decent enough in close combat. 7 attacks, you can go with strike. 2 to hit, strength 16, -3, 3 damage, it's not bad. Or you can go for the Blade of Magnus, which is AP -1, 2 damage. We get 14 of those attacks, 2 to hit, strength 8, AP -1. You can protect him with Impossible Form. In your command phase, you check, or you choose one of the 3 abilities. -1 damage against him, which is excellent. That's usually the default one that I choose, just again to make it as difficult as possible to take him down. You can also give 2-inch move to units within 6 inches of him, quite good at the start of the game to give your units a boost. And then you can also do Tzinch's Treason of Tzinch, which an enemy unit within 24, you can make all the weapons hazardous, but I think it's quite rare that I'd use that one. But it's there if you need it. He also gets, he's great for these psychic attacks as well, or psychic rituals. You get +2 to these psychic tests, so to make him a nice reliable psychic. And he can also perform 2 instead of 1 as well. So really good psychic stuff coming from him, such as Doombolt, for example. And he's a 7 on 2 dice or 3 dice, +2 for that. For Magnus the Red, it's likely it's going to go ahead. You really can push on towards 11 or more, which will give you D3 +3 mortal wounds. You can kick out some extra damage with that, plus the stuff that he's built with, all of his firepower and close combat. So he is important. He's absolutely important. The army can stand or fall based on him. I'm going to give you points values. So he's 420 points. So really worth keeping alive. And if he does stay alive and he contributes in the game, it's powerful. Very, very powerful indeed. So there he is. His firepower is the main thing. You've got 2 psychic psychic attacks. The Gaze of Magnus, range 24. 3d3 attacks, so you're averaging about 6 attacks or so with him. It's built-in devastating wounds. 2 to hit, strength 11, -2 and straight 3 damage. Really good. And if you've got the strategy where you're rerolling your hit rolls, rerolling your wound rolls, you can fish for a lot of mortals coming through. And on top of that, you can take Tzinch's Firestorm, which is blast, ignoring cover, range 24, d6 +3 attacks, 2 to hit, strength 6, -1, and 2 damage on top of that. And again, you can just fish for those wounds, and you can rack up the damage pretty good. Ideally, to use him, you sort of blindside as much of the opponent's force as you can, and then focus on the one thing you can see, and then just try and destroy it, and then survive, and then move on to the next target. With him, certainly not a unit that I'm going to rush the opponent with and ask for trouble, but more conservative, calculated attacks, prioritizing staying alive into the mid and late stages of the game, and then when things die down, some of the opponent's models units have been destroyed, there's not as much of a threat on the board, he can be more bold on the table and really make himself count. Moving, shooting, charging, very dangerous. So Magnus is in, the anchor, the hinge of the army. So he's not the unit that's going to push out early to try and grab objectives. He's going to hang around as an anchor point whilst the Tzangors, the other parts of the army, surge forwards. But he's not going to be the one that leads the charge. He'll direct the forces from like the centre of our deployment zone and then push out. So it's easy to explain if you check out the deployment tactics video, which I'm going to make for this. You'll see how the deployment works, and that video, it's like a short video, it'll just guide you through the process of how I deploy the army, and then we'll actually set it up on this table here with objectives, deployment zone, and you can see how the army actually deploys on the board, just to show you how to use the list in a game. So that video should already be live on the channel. You can check it out, and it's to accompany this one here. So 2 units that will push forwards steady enough will be my Rubric Marines. I used to have 1 squad, it was never enough. Quite recently painted up another box. They do take a while, but 2 squads of 10. Nice, solid unit choices. Rubric Marines, just standard sort of Marines here with 2 wounds each, 3 up save. They do have a built-in 5+ invulnerable save. I equip them, the loadout for those is I give them all the flamers, there's tons of flamers, Inflamer Pistol on the Aspiring Sorcerer, a Stave on the Aspiring Sorcerer. He has his own psychic attack as well, and then within each of those squads is a Soul Reaper Cannon as well for a bit of Dakka, and they can kick out some devastating wounds as well. So that's the idea with those two squads. They're both the same. With the Flamers, great for ambushing enemy units, loads of Flamer attacks, great on Overwatch. If the opponent comes too close, you can Overwatch the target. So I do prefer them. They're range 12, they're quite short, but if you can catch the opponent with them, they're dangerous enough. And I guess you have Temporal Surge, which usually gives you another d6 inches for a move, just to get you into an ambush. If you roll high enough to surge them a full 6, so 6 and 6, you can go 12 inches and then shoot another 12, so effective sort of 24 threat range for them. So those two units are designed to take fire, to absorb damage, and to push out onto an objective each. That's 2 of the No Man's Land objectives. I'd be picking 2 and then pushing forwards with each of those units. To bolster them, I put an Exalted Sorcerer with each of those squads. Rubric Marines, most of the units here have dropped in price. Rubric Marines are now 190 points each. I think they were 220 previously, so 190. And Exalted Sorcerers are now 80 points a time. So combine those two together, nice solid unit. The Exalted Sorcerer is going to give you some great buffs. He's going to push the unit's invulnerable save from 5+ to 4+. So you can block half the stuff coming through, which is great. And then on top of that is his ability to resurrect models. Rebind Rubric Psychic. So in your command phase, roll a dice. If you roll a 1, take some mortal wounds. A 2 to 5 gives you a restored model. And then if you roll a 6, you can restore 2 bodyguard models to the unit. So really good. Just to start adding models back on. The idea is to take some casualties and then start adding them back on. So they're to march out at a good pace, head off towards No Man's Land objectives, clear, and then hold those through the game. You know, your Flamer's firepower is not bad. You do have other shooting. You know, like your Sorcerer Cannon is going to give you a range 24. The Malefic Curse is range 24. This attack that comes from the Sorcerer, the Aspiring Sorcerer, and the Exalted Sorcerer's range 18 with the Astral Blast. D6 attacks, blast, devastating wounds built into that actually as well. 2's to hit, strength 6, -2 and D3 damage. A bit of firepower can come from them as well, so that's all quite good. And then a bit of a bolstering close combat as well. 5 attacks with the stave, strength 6, -1 D3 damage, 2's to hit with that. So just a no-brainer to add those in. I have purchased some enhancements. There's enough points in the list to do it. So the guy that's jumping up a little bit here, he is representing taking the Umbrelific Crystal. He and his unit, once during the battle, including turn 1, can be removed from the battlefield, and then on the next turn they must come back in by like deep strike, just turn up anywhere on the board, just over 9 inches away from enemy models, so you can go for a nice ambush with them. You can turn up just over 9 inches away from enemy models, but you're range 12 your flamers, you can go for like a decent flamer ambush with them. If an objective is quite far away, you could then like deep strike onto it instead of having to walk towards it as well. It also means you can deploy those somewhere obscure and hidden away and still make good progress up the board. The other enhancer, just with the spare points, is over on the other Exalted Sorcerer. He takes the Eldritch Vortex of Tap. It gives you +1 strength, +1 damage to his psychic attacks, and I believe that's for Astral Blast and the stave as well. It's a bit of a sting with him. And remember, these two characters are buried inside the unit, so it's going to take a fair bit of effort, usually, for the opponent to try and get to them. They can take a lot of punishment, but again, they're not invincible. So that's a real backbone part of the army that we've built up there. The third objective in No Man's Land usually has 3. I'll leave it to any of these other units, depending on the shape and the way the game's going. It could be held by any of these. They can all contribute in that way. What we're thinking of now is we've got Magnus the Red in the heart of the army. We've got 2 Rubric Marine squads to push out and to anchor objectives. But I want to try and shield these units that we've talked about already. And a way to do that is distraction units. Units that will distract the opponent. And that is these 2 Maulerfiends across here. Now they're cheap enough. They're 130 points each. They're nice and big. But usually it's not that big a deal if they're brought down. Psychologically, the opponent's going to look at them and say, right, I've got to take these out. These are powerful vehicles, but really they're not that expensive and they're not that amazing in the game. So they're perfect as a distraction type unit. Tough enough. They will be brought down, but they'll put up some resistance. They've got 12 wounds, 3 up save. They do have a built-in 5+ invulnerable save, which is exceptionally useful. 10 wounds, movement 10. And if they do crash into close combat, so I'll hurl them at the opponent, usually to distract deliberately, whilst the Rubric Marines just pushing up, minding their own business, whilst Magnus is minding his own business, the opponent's distracted by the Maulerfiends. They kind of have to go after them. If they don't, the Maulerfiends are left to run on the rampage. I can use Tank Shock, dish out some mortal wounds on the charge, and if we do charge in, you've got the Lasher Tendrils, 6 attacks, and 3, strength 7, -1 damage. And the Maulerfiend Fists are actually good if you can get the hits and wounds. 6 attacks, and 3s, strength 14, -2, and d6 +1 damage. Yeah, so I think they're a good enough price. I used to run 3, but I've got points to run something else across there. So, same idea. These two, usually, I can put them anywhere. I can put them, deploy them on a flank to push around, run them through the centre. Whichever avenue I think will be a good path for them to try and cause havoc. And again, you'll get an idea of how that works in the deployment tactics video. So then, I've had enough points to pay for this model here. Now, originally I ran him as a Demon Prince, but it's been going on for quite a while. People have been saying, why not run him, because the base size I believe is the same, run him as a Maulerfiend Vortex Beast. So again, a distraction type unit. It is more expensive. This one's going to cost you, it's not too bad, 160 points. Everything's dropped in price. So 160 points. This one's, again, movement 10, similar to the Maulerfiend, toughness 10, again, similar. 4 up save, 5+ invulnerable save. Does have 13 wounds, so an extra wound. OC of 4. And then this one comes with combat plus shooting. The shooting with the Warp Vortex, I can go range 24, d6 +3, blast attacks, 3 to hit, strength 9, -2 damage. Or I can go with the beam, which will give you 1 shot, 3, strength 18, -3, and d6 +6. Scary. And then you can also go for the Torrent Flamer option as well for like 2d6 auto hits, strength 6, 8, -1 damage. Then in close combat, 15 attacks with the Bentacle more, 3 to hit, strength 7, AP 0, 1 damage. Or you can go for the Maulerfiend Claws, 5 attacks, 3 to hit, strength 10, -2, and 3 damage. He's also got built-in Feel No Pain of 5+, again it's a nice durability kind of idea, like a distraction type unit. And there's some buffs that you can give to other units as well. For any 1,000 Suns units within 6 inches, get +1 to their psychic tests. So again, you could add that onto Magnus the Red, for example. And then for him to get in amongst the opponent and to be a distraction, there is a reward for that. Mutating Vortex, it's an aura. At the end of the movement phase, roll 1d6 for each unit within 6. On a 2 to 3, they take a mortal wound. On a 4-5, they take d3. And on a 6, they take d6 mortal wounds. And they've also got to take a battle shock test. And that's for every enemy unit as well. So if you land yourself in the right spot, you can just become a bit of a mortal wound bomb on the board. And the idea is if the opponent's going after him, they're not trying to hunt down Magnus the Red. So another distraction type unit. There with the Maulerfiend Vortex Beast. 160 points. So I've got backbone units, I've got the Hinge of Magnus, and then I've got my distraction units, 3 of those on the board. Then have my cheaper Horde units. Chaos Cultists are gone. They've been replaced by like the Pink Horrors, Blue Horrors, Brimstone Horrors, and so on. So there are options, Cinchy style options, which is fine. So I'm not so annoyed about having to drop the Cultists, just the fact I spent ages painting them, but doesn't matter. So instead, we've gone from 2 squads of 10 Tzangors to 3 squads of 10. Just expanded them out. Tzangors are tougher, a bit more durable than Chaos Cultists. With their toughness 4, 6 up save, 6 up invulnerable save. They'll wither away, they will be destroyed quick enough. So they are to stay out of trouble. They're good for quieter areas of the board. Good for screening. Good for area denial, like spreading out to stop deep strikers from getting behind your lines and so on. They're also good for moving around the flanks, to perform secondaries, keeping them in reserve to turn up on the flanks or behind enemy lines, again for secondaries. So those kind of tasks for them, and they're cheap enough. Units of 10 are only 70 points a time, so 3 lots of 70 there. Really bulks the army out, and they are useful. They've got multiple uses. They're not there for the thick of the fighting. They're there though for tactical purposes during the game. They really can be useful for picking up points, for screening, and so on. So 3 squads of Tzangors. And then finally, in reserve, nearly every time, is the Terminators. 2 squads of 5. Keep those in my back pocket, and I deep strike them in for whatever they're needed for. Multitask Terminators. Again, they've dropped in points. They are now 180 points a time. So 180 points a squad. You're getting a tough, durable unit. I'm not going to go through all the stats for these. Oh, that's interesting. The Occult Sorcerer has an extra wound. Yeah, it's got 4 wounds. Okay, 3 wounds each, 4 wounds on the squad leader. 2 up save, 4+ invulnerable save, toughness 5. It's a tough unit to get rid of. I use it. There's a bit of Tactica can come from there, so I take the Hellfire missile rack, all the combi bolters. The Malefic curse comes from the Exalted Sorcerer or the standard Sorcerer, and then they've also got a Soul Reaper cannon in the squad as well. And then in close combat, you've got 4 force weapon, 4 attacks coming through. The stave, the same as the Rubric Marines, and then your Prospering Capacious 3 attacks, 3 strength 5, -2 and 2 damage. They can chop their way through Primaris Marines quite happily. I'm not expecting them to wipe out and destroy whole units. They're in for the grind. They will grind away at enemy targets, no problem. But they're not the sort of superpower unit that's going to wipe units very quickly. So they're there for the grind. There as a backup unit. It's very useful to have them in my back pocket, and I can use them in different ways. I can use them to really stretch across the board and get into no man's land or the opponent's deployment zone. And I can use them to bolster my own defences anywhere along the line, and at times in games I've even brought them and landed on the home objective just to camp out and sit on that if it's getting weak. I'll just drop them in there. So really very, very handy tactically to have units that you can bring in and just drop them in where they're needed, wherever that is on the board. So they're usually in reserve. You could rapid ingress with them for a real good ambush, so drop them in at the end of your opponent's movement, survive, and then move out to shoot and charge is an option with them as well. It's always useful for 10th edition to have something in reserve that's flexible and can make an impact on the game. So I've gone for 2 squads of 5 of the Terminators. So that list total comes to 1995 points, just 5 points short. I think here that the footprint's pretty good, thanks to the Tzangors bulking the army out quite well, and it compensates nicely for the points spent on Magnus the Red. But that's the overall tactics. So the need to get out onto the no man's land objectives. To do that, I have Rubric Marine squads to surge forwards. To support them, Terminators can drop in anywhere. To distract the opponent and push the opponent and keep them away from the no man's land objectives, just to clear the path, is 2 Maulerfiends and the Maulerfiend Vortex Beast. And then for menial tasks, screening, flanking, secondaries, is the 3 squads of Tzangors. And then finally, all of that revolves around the main man, Magnus the Red, the linchpin of the army. And as I said at the start, if he survives through to the middle and late stages of the game, usually the Thousand Sons are in a very strong position. So that's the video. I hope it's been a help to you. And feel free to copy this list, try it out, see how you get on, or take elements from this. Do let us know what you think, what you would change, what you would drop and what you would add in. Even tactical choices like detachments and so on. It's all open for discussion. Do let us know what you think in the comment section below. To start collecting or to expand your collection for Thousand Sons, gamingfigures.com, link for them below. If you like the look of the terrain, do check out Gaming Figures. And perhaps you don't have time to paint your own army, you can get Art W Studio to paint up your Thousand Sons force for you. You can get in touch with them for your own painting commission work. Do check out the deployment tactics video. It just links up with this one, just to show you how the army deploys on a battlefield. Check out those tutorials that will guide you through if you want to paint models yourself. And if you've enjoyed the video, do leave a thumbs up and a comment to help support the channel and the videos. Thanks for watching. Tune in next time.